So my grandma just died about 2 days ago, and she died literally 12 hours after I made that video where it was the question and answer video, and somebody asked me how my family was doing, and I talked about how my dad, my stepmom, my aunt, uncle, and my grandma all got COVID, and that my grandma looked like she was doing the best. It looked like she was just soldiering through it, not complaining. I talked to her, I think the day before she died, and I asked her how she was doing, and she was like, I don't feel the best, but, like she just like shrugged it off like it was nothing. And then, that night, literally after I uploaded that video 12 hours later, she just got really bad and passed away, unfortunately. And she refused any medical care whatsoever. She didn't want any vaccine. She didn't want any antibiotic treatment. She wanted nothing. And that's how she's always been. She hadn't been to the doctor in 48 years, I think, since her last son was born. And a lot of my other family members are like judgmental about that. And it's like, it was her choice. She didn't trust doctors. She didn't like going to the hospital. That was her personal choice. She did what she wanted to do or what she believed in. She trusted in God. And I highly doubt that she would have any regrets because this is how she's always been. And I wasn't as close with my grandma as I was to my grandpa who passed away, not her husband, my other grandpa who passed away last year. And but she definitely had a big influence on my life, getting me like interested in politics and stuff. When I was a kid, I would go over her house and she would always be watching Fox News and explaining to me like what things were going on in the political world and stuff. So I was always more politically aware as a kid than a lot of people my age, and it was all due to her. And that obviously carried on into my adult life where I became autistically obsessed with politics. And she was a super, super devout Catholic. When I was an atheist, she sent me like books on like the courage to be Catholic and stuff. And so I'm very grateful that she got to see me become Catholic again. I think I've told the story. She once said that the reason that the Bahamas get so many hurricanes is because they practice voodoo and don't worship Christ. I think like last year when she found out I was Catholic, she gave me a bunch of books and like a DVD and stuff like that. But she was very like set in her ways. Like when she first got COVID, my dad did the monocle antibiotic thing or whatever it's called, and he was like, look, Mom, I'm feeling a little bit better. Maybe you should do this antibiotic things. It's not the vaccine. It's not anything. And she was like, no, I'm not doing anything. And he was like, why? Why don't you want anything? And her response was, I don't have to explain myself to anybody. You have like the virgin, I don't want to take the vaccine because it might be the mark of the beast or it might make me sterilized and we don't know how RNA vaccines work, versus the Chad, I don't have to explain myself to you. And, I'm very blessed. I got to, know her for 28 years of life. Not a lot of people could say that about their grandparents. And she got to meet both of my daughters, which is a blessing. She actually just met my second daughter, like I think a month or two ago too, for the first time. But I'm really grateful that that got to happen. And she was 90, so she lived like a super long life, and that's awesome. But no matter if you're expecting somebody to die or if they die suddenly or whatever the circumstances surrounding somebody's death is, the loss of a loved one is never easy, no matter what. You're always going to think about like what could have been, or say I should have spent more time with them. I should have done this. I should have done that, no matter what. But who I feel the worst for is my dad, because he has just had 3 weeks from hell. My stepmom's father passed away like 3 weeks ago, and he lived in Vegas, which was where my dad was originally going to move to when he sold his house. But instead he moved in with his parents because they were old and sick, and he wanted to take care of them because none of his other family members would step up. So my dad made an apartment in the basement, made it all nice and stuff, and was just going to stay there and help them out. And then his dad died, and he stayed there to help his mom, and now his mom died. And so he went to Vegas to deal with my stepmom's father's funeral arrangements and all of that stuff. Then he comes home, gets COVID from one of his family members, and then his mom dies, like all in a 3-week span. And now he has to deal with all of the will and all the funeral arrangements and stuff with his mom too. And we still didn't even bury my stepmom's dad. So it's just been a super, really tough week on my dad. He's still recovering from COVID, still doesn't feel well. And that's who I feel bad for the most. And also, this is going to be like a super jarring, life-changing experience for me, because now, once everything is done with, my dad is going to do what he originally planned to do and move to Vegas, because now he doesn't have to take care of his family anymore. And he's basically been in prison, like, because he felt the responsibility to take care of his parents. And, I always knew this was eventually going to happen, but now that it's happening, I feel it's a selfish feeling, I know, but I don't want my dad to move to Vegas. My dad is like my best friend, my hero, and he's always been there for me my entire life. And now he's going to move to Vegas, and I'm only going to see him like a couple of times a year. And it hurts me, but I know that's like a selfish feeling. And I know that, he deserves to be happy. He worked his whole life and did everything correctly for his loved ones, and now he's finally gonna basically retire in Las Vegas, and that's awesome. But I want my dad. I'm a daddy's boy. And I told the story about my grandma on my Telegram and Instagram, but the way that my grandma and grandpa met was at a Catholic dance. And because they used to have those, and they met at a Catholic dance, and my grandpa got to this dance and he saw my grandma and immediately walked up to her. And the very first thing he ever said to her was, "I know you don't know me, but I just wanted to let you know we're going to end up getting married." And 6 months later, they got married, ended up having 14 children, and stayed married for 60 years. I met my wife on Tinder, and this grandma passing just brought up feelings about my other grandpa from my other side passing, who passed away last year, who was like one of my best friends and biggest role models and was like a second father to me. And I still have not like grieved properly over his death. Like I still have not really like fully addressed it, and I don't even like talking about it or like looking at anything, because it'll just make me want to like break down. And I'm eventually going to have to do this, but this definitely is bringing up a lot of feelings that I haven't addressed, which is super unhealthy, but that's the Irish in me that just wants to suppress all of my feelings and not address any of them. I was planning, I gathered all of these pictures and videos of my grandpa, and I was going to make this like collage montage thing or whatever, and I put all of the stuff in the folder, and I just have not touched it because I'm just afraid to like look at it, because I know that I'm gonna like just break down. So but he's having a memorial in October, like this giant memorial, because of the school that he went to. He was very popular in his community and stuff, so they're holding this big dedication memorial for him. That should be really nice. But it's just like I'm going to have to deal with my grandma's stuff, and also dealing with my family, who is just horrible, like my extended family. That's going to be miserable as well, but got to deal with that. And then I like right after that, a couple of weeks, I got to go to this memorial thing for my grandpa, and it's definitely going to be emotionally taxing. But my grandma, she was faithful and believed in Christ with all her heart, and she believed that she would reach that beatific vision and go to heaven. And I believe that she is with her husband right now, hopefully, and they're together again in eternal happiness. And I can only pray and hope that I see them again one day. I also got to get a couple of new crucifixes for my icon wall that I got to keep from my grandma, which is cool. Now I have a crucifix from my grandpa that died, and a couple from my grandma that passed away. And hold on, I'm going to cover their names, but this is an official stamped thing from the Vatican that is for congratulations for their 40th wedding anniversary. It says, His Holiness John Paul II, who was the Pope and is a saint now, His Holiness John Paul II lovingly imparts his apostolic blessing as a pledge of divine protection and graces to my grandparents on the occasion of their 40th wedding anniversary. And then it says ex diocese, I don't know, something in script, but it has the Vatican stamp thing of approval, and it's signed by some deacon or something. So that's really cool. So yeah, that's basically it. I wanted to thank everybody for sending their prayers. And please continue to pray for my dad and my stepmom. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.